Bing, bada, boom. Realest guys in the room.
We're not doing Enzo. Now I'm leaving. you know, the only thing that made me, I guess, the only thing that softens my stance on Enzo is that I hate Big Cass even more.
Yeah.
Like at least Enzo had legitimate charisma about him.
Yeah, and he was somewhat entertaining. So
Right, yeah,
this
legitimate charisma. Big Cass is just a dope. He's always been a dope.
Oh, you're right. All right.
Ready?
I guess so.
Jump right in.
Fuck, what is this?
This is the How Wrestlecast episode 9.
Is it 9?
It's 9.
All right, cool. That's
it's
what I needed.
9. We were talking about big plans for 10, but we don't have them yet. We're slacking.
We don't even have big plans for 9. So.
We don't have big plans for 9. We're going to kind of wing it. And
yeah.
But I think that's going to be the episode. So welcome, everyone.
Yes.
How Wrestlecast, episode 9. You can see how focused, driven we are today.
It's been a crazy time the past few weeks.
It has.
We're allowed to be a little unfocused.
It has. And what's a shame about that is we're coming off of a couple really good episodes. We had our underrated, overrated matches, which I thought was a lot of fun.
For sure.
We did our watch-alongs, which hopefully you guys watched along, participated in those with us. And then we had my story, which we talked about. When we finished doing that up, we had a couple of cold ones in us, and
I definitely did. I always do.
And I left there and I didn't feel good about that episode. I thought it was me rambling on quite a bit, and I just didn't feel good about it. And then actually had a couple of friends listen to it before I did. They said that, and they said, man, they really, really liked it, and they were excited to get more content. So shout out there, John Thomas, Big Dan Candry. Thanks for listening, guys. And then they told me that they really enjoyed hearing those sort of stories. And I listened back, and it was better than I remembered. I thought we actually busted out a really good episode.
For sure.
I talked to a buddy of mine, Tom Dunn, who's a referee manager. He's been part of the independent scene for a long, long time. Referees up at AIW in Cleveland, one of the top indie promotions around. Talked to him a little bit on a show and said that he listened, and we talked about, you know, how I mentioned that how more difficult it was to get into the business back then. I mean, the world is so different now in 2018 than it was in 2002.
Definitely.
Even though the internet was around and things like that. And we talked about how easy it is nowadays to get your foot in the door. Now, it's not easy to be successful. You still have to work really hard, grind, make towns, connections, social media presence, so many things that goes into really becoming a superstar and making some money in the business nowadays. But we had a good talk about how it was just very difficult getting into it. You couldn't Google search wrestling schools near me. It didn't exist. You had to kind of have a know. You kind of had to have a connection, and really do some research, and it was much tougher to get your foot in the door back then. So we had a really good talk about how things were back in the day. A couple of old farts like us, you know.
Yeah. Any stories you want to share with us, sir? Like anything that we haven't heard before?
Man, I think we're going to save it for Wilbur Part 2. I think we'll pocket all the road stories, pocket some of the backstage stories. We'll bust that. I think we got a show in the bank at any time with those. And,
no, you're absolutely.
And I might talk to some old friends and because hey, a lot of those stories, there was a couple of adult beverages after the show, and maybe our memories are skewed a little bit. So maybe I have to piece together the puzzle on some of those stories.
No, I understand.
But I think once we do so, I think we'll have a lot of fun. And maybe, hey, you never know. We got some buddies out there in the business that are a fan of our podcast. Maybe bring them in for some guest appearances.
For sure.
I think we got all that in the bank going forward.
Cool. No, I like where your head's at. I don't know why I didn't think of it like that myself, knowing me.
But so it's been a little while since we got together and talked some wrestling. A lot has happened in wrestling. A lot has happened in real life. I mean, shoot.
Yeah, lots happened to you specifically. So.
Well, yeah, man, and I won't get super sentimental or in depth here on our podcast, but had a really scary car wreck not long after our last podcast, around the end of July. High-speed crash, and luckily me and my two little girls were in the car. We're okay. We're all physically okay. A lot of residual effect going on. I got banged up a decent bit. I'm still going through physical therapy for my shoulder. Got a little jacked up, and I've had to cancel / amend some of my booking dates, not physically able to compete, insurance purposes, and I'm 34 years old now. I'm getting too old to be done with my body. Before, I wouldn't have gave a shit. My shoulders hanging up. I'm like, well, I can work, and I'll just throw right hand and punch this whole time.
Like Wolverine.
Yeah, there you go.
Heal much faster.
But you can't do that anymore. Got to play it safe. And so, on the wrestling side of things, a little disheartened lately. I mean, missed out on a match I was looking forward to with Mid Ohio Wrestling. I actually have a booking this Saturday up in Elyria with Mega Championship Wrestling that I'm not going to be able to make because I'm not physically cleared to compete. So, personally, a little disheartened right now with wrestling and what it is, and I think it's kind of going to factor into what we're going to talk about today with wrestling as a whole. I mean, where I personally stand with wrestling and what's going on with the current product. Still a fan, of course. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if we weren't. Yeah. But I have a different aspect, different way of looking at wrestling. Sure.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I guess I told you that good story before we got here about amending that booking. So at Mid Ohio Wrestling, we'll go in as the tag team champions, and I mentioned that I'm not going to be able to wrestle. I can't physically do it. Well, we're the champions. And I don't know when I'm going to be cleared, so got to get the belts off. So we came in with a plan where, the bad guys, so there's a general manager, he's a bad guy, and he's going to basically say that my my drug test came up hot, which is if you look at me, that's a joke. But some banned substances. What drugs are you taking? Some banned substances or something. So so the plan is I get to the building, and there's never any plan at all. I'm physically wrestling. I'm okay. I'm at peace with that. So it's whatever, but I get dressed like I'm about to wrestle because we're going to do that swerve in the ring. So I get dressed, we get our pop coming out, the music hits, big pop, crowd's into it, they're excited for the match, and now the adrenaline's gone. Now all that where it was like, I didn't care, now it's gone, now I'm pumped, and I can't do anything. Yeah. So I get the tag, and as soon as we get to wrestling, the GM says, blah, 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 you got a hot test. You can't wrestle. You got to get out of here, go to the back, and that's the storyline. So I'm mad, I'm selling, and I'm pissed off. Blah blah. This is BS, and blah 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 blah. And then I get to the back, and the adrenaline dumps, and I sit down in my chair. And again, no intention of wrestling the entire night, but just being out there and then adrenaline going. And I sit down in the chair, and I was sad. Yeah. A little mad, because the accident, we weren't at fault at all. So you get a little bit frustrated, that sort of thing. But just sad. Again, that was. Real life was taking over and wrestling was taking a back seat, but being out there, really difficult moment, man. And so
I believe it.
Hoping to get physically cleared, hoping to get back out there as soon as possible. That's for sure.
Well, I'm hoping so as well. So
appreciate it, my man.
Shit, I can only imagine what that's like. I said earlier, it's kind of like those stories you hear people injured and having to sit out WrestleMania and watch it from the stands.
Yeah, again, it's not on that level, of course, but it is when you're
for you. It kind of
part of something that you love, and there's something that's outside of your control that's keeping you from it. Yeah, it's difficult. There's a lot of emotions that go into that. There's frustration, there's sadness, there's anger, there's all that, and it's difficult even to this day. As I mentioned, we're filming this on a Thursday. In 2 days I was scheduled to have a booking with Chris. Chris Cole has been one of my long time friends in the wrestling business. We've never teamed together. We're scheduled to tag team up there in Elyria. I sent the text about a week ago saying, hey, I was hoping to get physically cleared, and I'm not. And that's a hard thing to do, No. It is. I've always taken pride in not canceling bookings. I know this is out of my control. No, there's nothing I can do about it. I know that. It still doesn't make me feel good.
No, that's the worst part about it is you can't do anything about it. You're helpless. Right. You feel helpless.
You do. You absolutely do. Even if it was something that was my fault, if I did something stupid, I could at least say well, you shouldn't have done that. That's on you. Learn from it. But it is. It's a very helpless feeling, as you mentioned. So, but that's the sad part of this podcast. Well, I don't know. Maybe we talk about the state of wrestling. We're going to have more sad parts of this podcast. Yeah. But I catch everybody up on what we've been doing and what's going on. And it made me realize, too, how much of a part wrestling is in my life. We have a experience like that. And, again, it takes a back seat to your health and just real life in general. But actually being out there with wrestling in front of me and going, I'm not allowed to be a part of this. And that sucked. It absolutely sucked.
Well, even you said earlier that like you're almost like, yes, fuck it, I'm just gonna wrestle. You're like, no, I can't do that.
I'm out there. I get tagged in, and it went through my brain. I'm like, call this audible, call the GM off, and be like, let's just go. Yeah, because I wanted to so bad.
We'll wing it. Just let me be in the match.
I wanted to so bad, but no, you can't. You can't have insurance pay for an injury and then go out there and be a professional wrestler. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you become a liability at that point.
You definitely become a liability. You can't sit there and talk about injuries that sustained in an accident, which are legit. I've been lucky in my wrestling career. Really sustained very, very few injuries, but I was also lucky in an automobile, and so maybe your luck. You feel like your luck runs out sometimes. That's kind of a feeling I got going on right now. So better to not chance it.
I'm sure you're long. It's a long time from the end, sir.
I hope so. I do.
You're here.
My buddy, we're talking wrestling. My buddy Hayes knew it. He's like, you lost your smile for like the month, man. It happens. And in the indies, we all have that. We're like
Shawn Michaels. At the moment.
I mean, you do. Sometimes the show's in front of you, and you just go, I don't really care. Like, and that's a terrible feeling to have. You should always care.
Yeah.
But it happens, man. And in this case, it's something that was a big event that took it. But sometimes you do. It's just other stuff, real life happening. Girls, friends, jobs, etc. Other stuff can get on your mind. Then there's your show coming up and be like, and you kind of, we do on the indies, you lose your smile every once in a while. You're like, I just don't even care. And that's a terrible thing because the guy you're wrestling probably cares a lot.
Yeah.
So it's unfair to him that you're going out there not caring. It's unfair to other guys that probably want your spot on that card. You know what I mean? There's so many young indie guys out there just looking for bookings. And I'm a guy who's been around for 16 years now, and I can get those bookings because I've established myself. But if I'm going into the show going, I don't really care that I'm here, that's not fair to those kids. It's just not. So you try to squash that. I lost my smile bug. You do, but it comes up sometimes.
Well, don't let it discourage you too much. This is something that's kind of came up a lot recently within the past few weeks, just in the wrestling business and in life in general, and even with like DDP was on Joe Rogan the other day. Right?
Okay,
and you've seen like the resurrection of Jake the Snake, and he's got like a new documentary coming out about Scott Hall, how he saved Scott Hall.
Cool.
And how many times have you heard people say the same scenario in their wrestling career, and they're still wrestling today, and they're who they are today, or something like that doesn't just really happen in wrestling; it happens in life.
I think it happens in life,
too.
yeah.
And I think your real life outside of wrestling can definitely influence your wrestling life.
Oh, absolutely. When it's a big part of your life.
If real life is kind of shitty at that moment, or a lot of things are going on, it's gonna kill a little bit of your wrestling passion there for a second. Just like anything. Like there's somebody making a movie and they're going through a divorce.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Zack Snyder, his daughter killed herself or something.
I didn't even know that.
And that's why he left Justice League or whatnot.
Okay.
Like, things get fucked up, but again, how many times have you heard that story and it's somebody that you love and respect that's saying that?
Sure.
You know what I mean? So
sure.
Like, it's ups and downs, really.
Yeah, man, and actually that's funny. We didn't pre-plan talking about this at all, but I was talking to my girlfriend about that literally last night, where I said, like, if every day 9 out of 10 things that happen to you are good, right? That's a good odds, right?
Really
but
good.
that one thing is going to affect you. It's going to hamper you. It's going to rest on you.
Yeah.
You're going to dwell on that one bad thing, and
it's going to make you question those odds, even though you know those odds are sound.
Sure. If you wrote them down, that every 10, I ate bacon, I ate eggs, and those were good. right. But my waffle was a little undercooked. Yeah. You're going to sit there and talk about how bad, like, man, that kind of had a shitty waffle today, like. You're going to focus on the bad thing. Like, it's just what we do. It's, I don't know, it's unfortunate, but it's human nature, I guess. And trying to grow as people in real life, and if you recognize that, try to change that. That's kind of where I'm at right now, and I'm all right with that.
That's a good headspace to be in.
But man, we got off that wrestling path pretty quick.
We did. Well, we kind of stayed on it too. I mean, it's a podcast.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
We're people. We're gonna talk.
Well, we could
about
apply
real
that logic to wrestling if we wanted to, because we were talking coming into this. We said we were overdue to shoot a pod, but what do we talk about? And there's a lot happening, but there's not a lot we're excited about.
Yeah.
But maybe if we go back and look at that, we look at the positives, what we enjoyed, instead of talking about why in the shit are they doing Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar again? Yeah. Like you could probably start selling yourself a little bit, and that was SummerSlam as a whole, actually, for me.
Yeah,
I looked at that, and the top of the card was Roman and Brock, and I'm going into it going like, I don't even care. And then you looked at the undercard and you go, well, AJ and Samoa Joe. AJ Styles and Samoa Joe are guys that we absolutely grew up on the independent scene, trying to get tapes. You would watch TNA just for those guys, and like Chris Daniels, Yep. So, and now they're fighting for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. That's awesome.
That was actually probably the best match of the night.
Oh, I thought it was a great match. Daniel Bryan, The Miz, and Brian Danielson is a guy that we've loved for years and years and years, and he's back, and he's got this big time feud with The Miz. And they've done everything right. They've done the great video packages. They brought up the history.
Built it up for 2 years.
Again, I thought the match was very good. I mean, so they did a lot of things right. So going into SummerSlam, I think it was that thing at the top, that one negative thing, Roman and Brock, and you're like, we didn't want that at WrestleMania, and it sucked. And you're giving it to it again, and we don't want that. But then, like, what's underneath it? I know, like Josh and Jeff and Evan. A lot of guys are kind of sour on Ronda Rousey, but she's over like fuck.
See, I don't think she does bad in the ring. I just she botches a little bit, but she corrects it too. Like the next time, or like she does a little better every time. Although that. She did a hell of a debut match at WrestleMania.
The WrestleMania match was incredible, and if anybody disagrees, I mean, you're not right. You're not.
That put me on Team Ronda.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, she got a lot of clout from the wrestling community.
But she needs to kind of just be herself. She can't come out and be herself and all smiles and happy and shit, and then just be like angry Ronda.
Grumpy face Ronda.
Yeah, like it's just cringeworthy.
No, I can get that. And then on the flip side, as a guy, I'd hate to go back and watch my videos of my first 6 months in the business.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
she's very green.
And she brings the legitimacy. I mean, if you had Mike Tyson and his day, or let's say who's a top MMA star today? You had Stipe Miocic, right?
Yeah.
And you brought him into your wrestling show. He wouldn't be a great pro wrestler today, but you would want to watch him. You'd want to recognize him. He has name value. You can't blame them for what they're doing at all. Oh God.
I'm just ignoring it. Sorry, people.
You can't blame them for doing it. You can't blame. And Ronda Rousey, really, Conor McGregor, I guess, is the biggest MMA star. You brought him in today. Now he's tons of charisma.
He probably cut a hell of a
promo, but he wouldn't be able to wrestle right away.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be able to adapt to what we know in professional wrestling. It takes years and years and years to get, how to sell things correctly, and the cameras and just everything. It's a big deal. So she's got some. There's going to take some time before she's going to completely mold right in. But I don't know if you want her to mold right in. You want her to be different. And I agree with you. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan. Some of the smiley Ronda, angry Ronda, it's basically two things.
Just play into the camera and stuff. Just be a badass. Just be like your normal badass son.
Right.
Because they're all scared of you anyway. You could kick all of their asses probably, and even some of the dudes maybe. But I like her. I'm rooting
I do
for
too.
her.
I'm rooting for it too, and I see it as an attraction. I mean, I wanted to watch that match. I wanted to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I wanted to see her and Alexa Bliss. So that had me. I know one match at SummerSlam that definitely what you want to talk about is the Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Carmella match.
Loved it.
And there's a thing as we go back to what we just talked about 10 minutes ago, that 9 out of 10 things are probably good, and the 10 things bad is gonna get you.
Yeah.
So there's another thing that's good. I think that's a really good thing they got going on right now. They had the Becky Lynch heel turn, but nowadays in 2018, it's not so black and white.
No.
This is what happened. Becky's the plucky underdog. She busted her ass. She got her title shot. Her big buddy, who's the top dog, always been the top dog, waltzes right in her match,
handed
wins the match. Now, did Charlotte do anything wrong? No, but we've all been there, man. We've all been there. We've had the cute girl that kind of likes us, and then our good-looking buddy has interest in her too. And then, I mean, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
You know, you got the job. The job's coming up, and you've been busting your ass. But then again, your buddy, who's just he's better than you. He's going to come and he gets the job out in front of you.
Yeah.
They didn't really do anything wrong.
No.
You didn't do anything wrong, but the situation sucks. And that's kind of Becky Lynch right now. The situation sucks. And you know what? Fuck it. Goes out there and beats the shit out of her. And I don't know if everybody's saying like WWE's doing it wrong because they want Becky to be the heel, and we're not booing Becky. We love Becky. I don't know that's what they're doing. I don't know they're saying she has to be a heel.
No, she's being a human. We all relate to her. That's why we're on. That's why we still cheer. Like when she's saying, "This is bullshit," we're like, "Yeah, it is bullshit. You're absolutely right.
It is bullshit."
But at the same time, we know that like Charlotte deserves it just as much as anybody else.
What did she do wrong?
So we don't hate Charlotte either.
No,
so this is a weird rivalry.
But you
don't know whose side you're on. But
hate
her.
Know
you're definitely on Becky's side.
You hate her in the sense that most of us, as just wrestling fans in society, most of us are underdogs.
Yeah,
we just are.
We can relate.
The best, the best looking people, the most qualified people, the best athletes. The top tier is the top tier. It's the one percenters, man. There's way less of them than there are of us.
Yep.
So we relate to the underdogs and all that. And what will most likely happen, which will make a lot of sense, is Charlotte will eventually go to the fans. Well, fuck you. Mm-hmm. What did I do wrong? I'm sorry. I'm the best. Yeah. Sorry Becky wasn't good enough to win the match. Tough shit. I am. And now you got a heel, and now you got a baby face, and now you got a match that I want to watch.
Hell, you're right, dude. Maybe they aren't trying to make her a heel. Maybe they're trying to make her like a super fucking hard baby face, and they're setting you up for a Charlotte heel turn back to heel.
Yeah.
I mean, because who knows? Maybe they're building up this shit for what they're probably going to wrestle at
pay-per-view.
Evolution. Yeah. And Becky's going to lose, and Charlotte's going to be like, you know what? Fuck you guys.
Yeah, they could easily do that, or they could have Becky get the big win on the big show, and maybe the conquering the bully sort of story. There's some time before we get there.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's one that I'm interested in. And of course, hey, listen, Josh is probably going to listen to this or watch this. It's not discount Carmella.
Yeah.
She did a good job in her role. She did a good job with the role she was given. Josh goes, she's so white trash. I love her.
See, what I don't understand is all the hate for Becky. He doesn't really hate Becky, but he thinks very, very low of Becky. It's weird.
Hey, man.
And don't even get me started. Like, don't even talk trash about the looks, Josh.
Different strokes for different folks. But, sometimes people are just wrong, and that's what we have
here. It's just like Becky is drop dead gorgeous. And when Josh Griffiths, Josh Griffiths, says she isn't, it just irks the fuck out of me. It just irks the fuck out of me because it's just not true. But I'll leave it at that. Sorry.
We'll leave it there. So SummerSlam was a huge event that it happened a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago as we're filming this, but we needed to take the time to talk about it. How about the other event that happened last Saturday? Now you watched it. I was at work. I was at work slinging drinks. I didn't get a chance to see it.
I didn't watch it that night. I actually watched it yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well, you're caught up. We're talking about All In, of course.
It was
All In, man. Nobody has sold 10,000 seats in the United States besides the WWE since WCW's been gone. Nobody's done it. It was a bet from Dave Meltzer saying he didn't think anybody could do it. Cody Rhodes basically said, I'll take that bet.
Yeah.
Him and the Young Bucks funded the show on their own. They bankrolled the entire show.
Yeah.
And they sold it out in, I think, like less than 30 minutes, which is just out of this world amazing.
Yeah,
Really cool. So I watched the first hour on WGN. They had the 0 hour. It was a free. They had the Briscoes versus Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. And then they had a Battle Royal, which I don't know if you saw that. One of the most entertaining Battle Royals I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I had to watch that coming home from work. So I didn't get a chance to catch it. You did. Have at it, man. What did you think of All In?
Well, I didn't see the Battle Royal and everything. That must have been before the actual, like, the pre-show.
That was free. Yeah, it wasn't on the pay-per-view.
I just saw the pay-per-view.
Okay.
But it was good. It was like, it reminded me very much of what, like, WWE and WCW were before the Attitude Era ended. Like,
yeah.
It was I mean, it wasn't like rated R or anything, but there was definitely like mature things in it. Like,
you definitely felt like it was an alternative,
yes.
right? It was an alternative to what we've been offered for the past 17 years since WCW shut down. Yeah, it's okay.
And it offered you people from Ring of Honor, NWA, and even New Japan.
Sure.
Which was cool. It was like a collaboration.
And AAA, Lucha guys were all over that show as well.
And it was cool. I definitely it was 4 hours long, which I was like, damn, I had to pause it a few times, so it took me like half the day to fucking watch it.
Sure, oh yeah.
But it was good.
What I read is that, a couple of the matches went long, and that's something that's something that you don't think about. They had so many great professional wrestlers, so it's easy to put these two guys together, go and have a great professional wrestling match.
Yeah.
What's a little more difficult is we have X amount of time for this segment, for the entrances, for the post-match, for these promos, for these, video packages, X amount of time for all this. So I heard a couple of matches went a little long, leading to the main event 6-man being cut pretty short. So timing issues and stuff like that. If you ever look into ECW's first pay-per-view in 97, was barely legal. Basically, they had Terry Funk beating Raven, and as soon as the bell was rang, belt in the air, off the air. And that was it. If they didn't get to that, and they didn't get to the finish, if they were 10 seconds late, nobody would have saw the finish. They were off the air. It's a pay-per-view. You're off the air at 11 o'clock. You're done.
This went off pretty quickly as well.
Yeah. So that's something they'll probably have to learn.
And I think they were well aware of that too, because during a lot of the match, especially during the Kenny Omega match, they kept talking about how he's done 75-minute match.
Sure.
They said a few times they talked about like lengthy matches of certain wrestlers, and I was just like, okay, they're kind of selling it as a normal thing.
Yeah. Well, that's a good story to tell. That Kenny Omega, hey, you can go 75 minutes if you want to.
Yeah, like epic battles.
What did you find the best match of the night to be?
That 6-man tag team match was pretty fucking awesome. And I didn't know much about the Young Bucks. I saw certain things here and there on the internet about them, but that sold me on them. I was like, this is really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, I was Snapchatting, just filming the screen, Snapchatting certain spots. But.
Whoa, wow. Well, I need to follow you on Snapchat because I got to see anything you got.
But the match I was anticipating the most was Kenny Omega and
Pentagon.
Yeah.
I've seen Pentagon in Lucha Underground. And if you're watching Lucha Underground, it's a fun show to watch, but it's hard to focus in on one particular talent as being great. Like, I've seen Pentagon on there, but then again, if I watch one episode, there's 8 different mask guys that are all talented. It's kind of hard to focus in, but I've heard great things about Pentagon, and I'm very familiar with Kenny Omega. I actually seen him in Ring of Honor before he really blew up to the star he is today.
Yeah.
Just tons and tons of talent with that dude.
Kenny Omega is good. I've seen a couple I saw him and Chris Jericho, the first one anyway, and I think I saw a couple things on the internet with back when AJ was still there.
Oh, okay,
shit.
Gotcha. But he had a series of matches with Okada, who was on that pay-per-view with Marty Scurll.
That match was actually super, slow.
Yeah, a little slower than you would thought.
Super slow. It was all them just fucking with each other, slapping each other and then slapping them back, or just playing to the crowd and shit like that. That match, I almost fell asleep. Which
tells a story, but then there's that's where the problem lies. If you're going 25 minutes in the middle of a card on a show that has to be tight for time constraint, maybe not. Yeah. Maybe try to tell your story in 12, 15 minutes.
Not only that, but it was the second to last match, I believe.
No, I thought Omega and Pentagon was second to last in the 6-man, so maybe it was before that.
Was it?
I believe so, if I recollect correctly.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was Omega.
Oh, it might be. You watched it and I didn't. I just read what happened on the internet.
Because like I said, I was pausing and rolling back.
Yeah. I seen Adam Page and Joey Janela had a match. Chicago Street Fight I heard was a lot of fun.
That I liked that match a lot. And did you hear about the ending?
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's the controversial part of all of that, which I've heard, so many people that take wrestling very seriously, or at least pretend that they do, are shitting all over that, and they're saying, "Well, on a show like this," and
thought it was fucking hilarious.
That's what I'm saying. I have some friends in the business that go, it was fucking funny.
Yeah,
it was fucking funny. Was it ridiculous? Of course it was, but it was
some shit the New Age Outlaws would have done.
Yeah, but it was funny. It was
entertaining.
It was entertaining. People laughed. You were entertained. That's what it's all about.
Dudes walking out in dick suits, and then he Joey Ryan comes up on the screen, and he's there. He's got a fucking lolly, sucker in his mouth.
Yeah.
Comes down the thing, pours oil all over his body, and then fucking does the, dick Jedi mind trick thing where he flips him over. Like, I even Snapchatted that. Like, that shit was nothing but comedy gold.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, but you know what? The crowd's entertained. And I listen to Jim Cornette's podcast, as we talked about before. Huge Midnight Express fan. I'm an old school guy at heart. I am. I'm not a fan of the dick flip thing, but I'm not also a kind of guy that says how much it's killing the business, man. Like, it's silly. It's meant to be silly. It's all meant to be silly. Foley was putting a sock on his hand.
Yep.
You know what I mean? For years.
Al Snow was carrying around a dummy.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's silly and it doesn't make sense. And if you sit and watch wrestling and you try to make sense of everything, you're not going to enjoy it.
Yep.
You know, but you can enjoy making sense of this guy has a knee injury going in. He went for his big move and he hurt his knee doing it. Oh shit, is he going to be able to do that again? No, you can make, and then when it does make sense and there's your story in your match, that's awesome. You're likely to have a really good match if you tell that story well.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do a Jedi mind trick with the dude's dick and you flip him, and it entertains the crowd too. And wrestling always gets compared to the circus. You get if you don't like the trapeze, you might like the clowns. If you don't like the clowns, you're going to like the lions. If you don't like the lions, you'll like the elephants.
Exactly.
You know, you want a little bit of all of it, because even if you like the elephants and you see a show full of the elephants, it gets old.
Absolutely.
So you put a little bit of something on there for everybody.
And that's exactly what this was. Even with all the different promotions coming together, like you had Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis for the
NWA
title. You had
Jay Lethal had a Ring of Honor title match with Flip Gordon.
Total tribute to Macho Man.
Did the Black Machismo. He had Leaping Lanny Poffo out there with him, Macho's actual brother.
Yep, and even I can't remember her name, but the girl he came out with, he was even doing like Miss Elizabeth stuff, going out of the ring and pulling her to the corner, and be like, "Stay here," and like being real possessive and shit. It was fucking.
Jay Lethal does the absolute best. When everybody in the world does a Macho Man impression, Jay Lethal does the best one. He's so fantastic. But you enjoyed the show though.
I did, but before we move on, I can't forget at the end of the Kenny Omega match, the amazing switcheroo they did with Chris Jericho. That was so good. In
a day and age where we can read on the internet what's likely going to happen, who's there, who's not there, this is what the plans are, it's so easy. Nobody knew Jericho was going to be there.
Dude, the only reason I knew that wasn't Pentagon anymore is I noticed Jericho's
tattoo. But even then, it was by the time you see him in the ring, it's like, oh shit, that might be Chris Jericho. You had no idea Chris Jericho had any intention of being there. If you like really did the research where you're like, will Jericho be there? You would see they had a Fozzy concert that night. He made the Fozzy concert that night.
You're right.
He went and did the run in and then took a plane to the Fozzy concert that same night. But you couldn't have predicted it. A day that we're always trying to get ahead of the curve and you still get surprised, that's a good feeling.
For sure. They pulled it off. And as soon as he did the code breaker, it's like, that's Jericho for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And then pulled off the mask. He looked cool with just the fucking shit on his face.
Yeah, the skeleton, yeah.
And I was like, fuck, he should like maybe do that more often. Like, the long hair. Once he put his long hair down, he looked cool as fuck.
He can get into his his metal character and everything with Fozzy even. Like, that could be a possibility.
For sure. Grabbed the mic and said, I'll see you at the Jericho Cruise, which he's been talking about for
over a year. Over a year, yeah.
On his podcast. So I'm like, sweet. That even got me more like, I kind of already wanted to go on the Jericho Cruise, but I know I could have it. Now I'm kind of like, can I get a loan?
How can I figure this out? How can I get on that boat?
Yeah, like, can I win a contest or something?
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed. And then the ramifications going forward of that show is that there is an alternative to the WWE. There's another group of guys. Cody Rhodes and
that was a good match too.
Cody Rhodes has so much talent, but in reality, like, it is what it is. He was a mid-card guy in the Fed, right?
Yep.
So he was a mid-card guy, and the Young Bucks, an independent tag team that hasn't really had their big break, they bankroll a show. And they bring in stars from, guys, Okada's a huge star in Japan, huge stars from Mexico. Really, Rey Mysterio is the biggest star in an American scale. Yeah. But they put that out there, and they sold a 10,000-seat arena out instantly. It's awesome. New Japan and Ring of Honor have teamed up. They sold out Madison Square Garden for WrestleMania weekend next year. So it's an exciting time for the wrestling business. It really is. That the guys are making money, first and foremost, which is really good for them. But there's alternatives. There's so many different outlets you can go to watch pro wrestling right now, and people are doing it, and I think it's a great thing.
For sure.
But that's going to lead us into why we haven't done a podcast for a couple of months. Yeah. Why, as we talked even before, we said we need to do a podcast. What do you want to talk about? I don't know.
We're running out of cool little categories of like top these. And
we started with WrestleMania, so now obviously you can't do a WrestleMania every month or anything like that, or it wouldn't be WrestleMania. That's easy to talk about. SummerSlam is pretty much your second biggest show now, and we talked about maybe the lukewarm interest there. Now that being said, we talked about Roman and Brock. I thought that match was actually pretty good. I like that it went about 6-7 minutes. It was bang, bang.
Thing that made that match exciting to me is Brock gonna finally lose it.
Sure.
Not only that, when they added Braun Strowman
out there,
I was like, okay, what's
going to happen? And I think they told the story pretty well actually with all three guys.
Yeah.
And what they decided to go with. So even that match being kind of the match we were sour on going in, I think they delivered. Nobody wants to see him go 15 minutes. I think WWE knows that they don't want to go out there 15 minutes and have the crowd shit all over it.
Yeah.
After a long day of wrestling again. Not shit over their main event and their top guy going forward. So we get out of SummerSlam, and it's a pretty good show. We get out of there. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah.
But here we are, and we're sitting here, in the first week of September, and there's a lot going on, but there's not a lot going on, if that makes any sense at all.
No, that makes perfect sense.
We got
anybody watching wrestling would understand that saying right there.
We got the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view coming up. And it kind of feels like they're just treading water with it. Kind of how Backlash was when they had that World's Greatest Royal Rumble. It just feels like this is the next one after the really big show. And while there's going to be big matches, there's going to be AJ and Joe again. They're doing the mixed tag with Daniel Bryan and The Miz.
That could be cool depending on how they play it out.
Roman and Braun is the match that they're really building up. So they're giving you big matches, but there's kind of a lukewarm feeling going into it right now. Am I the only one that feels that way?
I would say lukewarm only in the sense that I'm not expecting a lot, but I think that might be a good thing.
Okay. Now, my comparison was Backlash. That was the first pay-per-view after WrestleMania, when there was a little bit of a lukewarm feeling, and it didn't deliver. It wasn't a very good show.
No.
That was one with Joe and Roman in the main event, and it wasn't.
Not at all.
Wasn't a very good show.
Which I with Joe involved, I thought they might do a little bit more, but no, you're right.
Yeah, it ended up not being a very good show. Let's just kind of break down what some of the top storylines going in. The Shield has reunited, and it always gets a big pop. But and we talked about the Becky and Charlotte thing, where everything's so black and white anymore. This is what's weird, okay? Let's just break it down, what's actually happened, and try to determine who the babyface and the heel is here, right?
All right.
So Braun Strowman wins the Money in the Bank, right? He's got it legitimately. He says, "I'm going to tell you when I'm cashing in, Roman. I ain't even trying to sneak up on you."
Yeah.
Well then, okay, Roman's buddies come beat the fuck out of him, right? The Shield's back, they beat the fuck out of him. Not really a good guy thing to do, but
you're right.
The Shield's awesome.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
The Shield's over, so the crowd's kind of behind it. Okay, so here's what Braun does the next week. You're going to have your buddies come out and beat the shit out of me. I'm going to grab a couple of guys, too. So he links up with McIntyre and Ziggler. Yeah. I got guys that have my back. Fuck you. Okay, those guys were bad guys, so that makes Braun heel. But in reality, that makes sense. All that makes sense. And even the closing segment last week of Raw, they had the heel locker room come out and beat the shit out of the Shield. But it was in response to the Shield really running roughshod over everybody when they're together. That's the story. That
pushing everybody around.
When the Shield's together, they're going to beat the shit out of you. Come together now to take care of it. If that was WCW doing that to the NWO, it would be the exact same story.
You're right.
Hey, Hogan, Hall, and Nash is killing everybody. Let's stop this. Let's link up. Let's take care of business. The crowd be going through the roof for them being babies' faces. So
yeah,
I think that's kind of a confusing thing going on right now, and that's the main storyline on Raw anyways. The Shield being back together are the baby faces because those characters were the baby faces and we love the Shield. But logistically, what's heel? What did Braun Strowman do wrong?
Nothing really. Like, if anything, he was more respectful than anybody that's ever been
had
the Money in the Bank contract. Like, he's out there, he's like, look, I'm coming for you. And they're just like, okay, dummy. And then they call in their boys and they beat his ass.
But you know what the problem is, though? Is that if they would have went the classic route, let's say when the Macho Man jumped Hulk Hogan and the Mega Powers exploded, we were booing the Macho Man because the Hulkster was the good guy. And even though they told a good story where maybe Macho had the right to be jealous, Hulk was kind of moving in on Liz, and maybe, but Macho was the bad guy because we love Hulk.
You're right.
If Braun beat the shit out of Roman on his own and was dirty and he was mean, the crowd would have cheered like crazy. That's what they want to see. So it's, that's something I was thinking about on the way here even. It's a difficult position to be in to constantly write new content, constantly adapt with the times, because so much the formula has worked for so long, but the formula continually changes, right?
Yeah.
You think about with like Bischoff and McMahon, when you got the authority figures on camera getting the crap beat out of them, nobody beat up Jack Tunney or Jim Crockett in the 80s because it didn't matter. Nobody cared. So now it was like the story of, your boss is a dick at work, right? We can do that. We can do that here on TV. We can let you live vicariously through us.
Stone Cold and Vince and shit.
And that just rejuvenated the entire business, the entire industry. So now 2018, it's not the clear cut. This is what makes you a good guy. This is what makes you a bad guy. It's more, this is what we're going to present to you. What do you think?
The narrative dictates who's what anymore. So like,
the context,
it doesn't matter. Yeah. That's why New Day can still be unanimously loved and beloved and baby faces, even though they're pulling heel moves half the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's all about just like who they say is the baby face and who isn't.
Well, and I mean, that sort of thing happened a long time ago, even with say a Ric Flair. Ric Flair was always a heel. He was always the big bad guy. He was always cheating. He was the dirtiest player in the game. But by the time you got to like the late '90s, even where it's like, yeah, he's a heel, but he's our heel. He's Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And right now, if Ric Flair came out, I mean, as until he retired, but 2002, 2003, 2004, he was always doing low blows and eye pokes and stuff like that. And even if he's playing a heel character, he always got cheered because he was Ric Flair. So the things were changing even then, and like you said with the New Day, they're gonna pull shenanigans because that's their deal, and they're beloved because we want them, we want to cheer them
because we like them. Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, like, just because you're a heel doesn't mean people don't love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there are heels that are incredibly over because people just like them. Like, I still watch Walking Dead because I really enjoyed Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of
cheer for the heels. I'm a Game of Thrones guy, and I cheered for Ramsay Snow, man.
Exactly.
I love him.
If you do something well, you appreciate
That's what
that.
I'm saying. He's such a bad guy that I appreciate how good of a bad guy he is. On the NXT brand, you got Tommaso Ciampa doing that right now. He is such a heel. And you and I, we're fans, and I'm in the business, and I know all of it, and I watch those matches, and I want Johnny Gargano to win. Both guys are going to get paid. I know that.
Yeah.
Both guys are getting good exposure. They're going to have a great match. I know that. I know this. Yeah. But I still watch it, and in my heart, I want Johnny Gargano to beat the bad guy. They got me, right? Because Ciampa's doing such a good job as the villain.
Exactly. Like, I want you both to fulfill your fucking purpose and do it as well as you do. And I appreciate that you do it that well.
Exactly. It can still be done. I think Daniel Bryan and The Miz is the closest thing on the main roster with that right now, where Daniel Bryan's so beloved and The Miz is such an asshole. But, peel back the layers, The Miz is doing a great job.
Yep.
He's doing a great fucking job with his character. Daniel Bryan is Daniel Bryan. And so, again, same thing. Watching that they're both going to make good money doing this. You watch it, that it's going to be good exposure. It's going to be a good match for the fans. All of that. And you still are sitting there on your couch going, man, like, come on. Like, you want Daniel Bryan to win. When The Miz wins and he cheats, you're like, God damn. We can appreciate the finish. We can appreciate the build. You can appreciate all that. But you still wanted you wanted your guy to win. So you can still get that basic story. It's still there. It's just a little bit tougher to get to nowadays.
Yeah. I think people tend to forget, too, that all the storylines you loved growing up and watching over the years and all the classic storylines, those were built up for a long... those were built up because you didn't have it every single month.
It was easier.
You didn't have... it was kind of more so just going every pay-per-view to every pay-per-view.
It absolutely was.
So, there was a lot of build up, a lot of speculate. You built it up yourself inside.
There might be one somewhat big match on like your superstars or something, but it would be like
Saturday morning.
Yeah, it would be like Jake the Snake versus Virgil. Even then, you still knew who was going to win. You still knew it was a spotlight. It was just a spotlight on the stars, and you built it to the pay-per-views. There was less content to get there. It's difficult. It's difficult nowadays, and I actually thought on the way over here. So let's talk about something like the NFL, right? If you're a football fan, right now the NFL season is starting. Everybody, if you're an NFL fan, you're excited. We're all going to watch. I'm going to watch the football game tonight, the Eagles and the Falcons. I won't care about that game in week 6 or 7, but it's week 1 and I'm excited, right?
Yeah.
but there's an off season. There's a break. There's a big time break. There's a gap where I haven't had any football. So today, sitting here on Thursday, opening night, I am excited. I want to eat some chicken wings and some pepperoni rolls, and I want to drink a beer, and I want to watch football tonight, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right? We're excited to do that at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? We're really excited for it.
For me, also with Royal Rumble.
With Royal Rumble, yeah, man,
epic.
that's the kind of the kickoff of that like season where it gets you.
Yep, it's like game one.
And then after that, there's that hangover, right? Now, like, so the football's just my comparison for this argument's sake. You get to the Super Bowl, same thing. People have parties. People are excited. And then it's just gone. It's out of your life, right? It's so you don't have that hangover effect where life goes on. There's still more. There's not more. I mean, there's off-season moves. There's transactions. And if you're a big fan, you'll have that. The draft, things like that. Yeah. But there's not, the content isn't there for months, from February till...
Same thing with like any other like story television show.
Yep, yeah, television show, exactly.
Breaking Bad goes off. Fuck, I gotta...
Game of Thrones is giving it 2 years.
Exactly.
Man, exactly. And I'm going to be so excited. Do you think, now it's not going to happen, so it's just a hypothetical because Fox just paid him $1 billion to get content. There's way too much money for them to ever do it. But do you think wrestling... for A, the fans, and B, the boys would benefit from an off-season?
Do I think it would benefit?
Yeah. Do you think the interest...
In a lot of ways, yes. I think the wrestling would be better. The guys would have more incentive. They could heal up certain injuries. You wouldn't have people off all the time. It wouldn't fuck up storylines.
Right. If you're got some nagging injuries, but you know that, hey, we're going to be done in a week, you get through them and you're cool. Nowadays, you got nagging injuries and you get through the match, but there's another one the next day. Yeah. It never stops.
I mean, now they're doing it like, depending on who you are, you might do it 3 days in a row if you have to do something with NXT too.
Oh, and those are just the television tapings. They're still house shows. They wrestle 5 days a week, and that's an easier schedule than it used to be.
It would cost less money because they'd be doing less. They could pay the superstars more, which would also up their game.
Sure.
Like you wouldn't have people like Dolph Ziggler leaving because he wants to do something else, or like, I mean.
You know what my thought...
I do. I wouldn't say a long period of time, but definitely
not necessarily a February to September like football is. It's a long time. I kind of have thought process now where they have so much talent between the Raw, the SmackDown, the NXT brand. They got their own UK brand. There's so much talent right now where wrestling necessarily wouldn't necessarily take a break, but maybe a group of guys does. Maybe the Raw brand, maybe that group of guys are just the guys that you don't see for 3 months. Maybe those are 3, and then maybe you splice it in because then when the next group of guys are off, you kind of stagger them in where maybe a group of guys are off for 3 months, but then you kind of piece in, Kevin Owens comes back 3 months out and he comes over onto the SmackDown brand to have a feud with Daniel Bryan.
No, dude, that's fucking great idea.
Something fresh, something new. Because even Daniel Bryan, as crazy as if he's on every single show, AJ Styles, as great as he is, and he's the best, he's on every single week. You get to the point where it's not that you don't want to see him, but you just care less. You care a little bit less than you did before. Nakamura was such an attraction coming in. And you just start to care a little less. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. It always does. And I think it's true in wrestling. When a guy comes back from an injury, you're excited. You're excited to see what they're going to do with him now. Where's this toy going to
Great example. I put Dean Ambrose as my overrated. And I couldn't tell you how psyched I was when he came back.
Came back, haircut all jacked up. And you're like, fucking sweet. Ambrose. Yeah. Go. Yeah, exactly. It's an exciting thing. And he was completely just... he didn't do anything wrong in his run. He did his character well. He had good matches, but you just seen it every week, and to the point where it wasn't adapting, it wasn't evolving. Yeah, that would be something I would really try to look into. I understand there's too much money on the table for it just to go away. I get that. Yeah. But you have the network. You could always have some content, but maybe some guys go away. And it's good for the boys. I'm sure you want to tell these guys that, hey, man, you're going to take 3 months off here, just stay in shape, but go home, relax.
Yeah, not the only reason they have so much time off is because they're hurt.
Yeah,
like, that's not good. And you're right. Like they wouldn't have to stop doing it 300 days a year, however much. You know what I mean? They could just rotate rosters and give some people time off. I mean, think about it. Like you watch Lost or something. Like characters are coming and going, returning. Mm-hmm. Like all kinds of, I mean,
sure.
If anything, that would create more. You could do storylines.
There's always season finales and season premieres. So imagine you get these
more surprise returns.
This group of 30 to 40 guys, and now you have a 9-month story arc. Yeah. And it culminates in 9 months. So you basically get, say, if you divide it into, say, 4 groups, or where each group would have 3 months off. You each have a 9-month story arc, and it culminates, and you'd have close to 4 WrestleManias. Call it WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and Royal Rumble, but everybody has their big payoff. And then when you know that big payoff is done, then they're gone for a few months, and now you're like, oh wow, that was great. And you excited when they come back in a few months.
Yeah.
They come back the next night, which is what they do after WrestleMania. They got to hit the reset button for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. And then we get to where we're here after SummerSlam. We're hitting into September. We're going to go into October. And eventually Survivor Series will probably, be a fairly loaded card, but we're going to go into that, and we're treading water. Even with good matches like AJ and Joe and Daniel Bryan and The Miz, with Charlotte and Becky going on. Ronda Rousey has her storyline. You got the Shield back together. There's so much stuff that you would think you're like, okay, I like that. But we're sitting here kind of, all right, we get to the next part.
Yeah. It would eliminate that whole rushing of storyline too.
I think so.
Like, it would give people, like, however long, 6 weeks, 3 months, fucking, to really invest their time into cutting that really good promo, like setting it all up, as opposed to like, all right, this is what we're doing this week. Do the best you can, and them kind of just half-assing it, not because they're lazy, but because they can't truly invest.
They can't
as much energy.
You don't want to say they're being lazy. You don't want to say they're going through the motions, but at the same time, it's not the most important thing. It's not WrestleMania, because it's just not. It's not a WrestleMania build-up, Well,
it just gives them more time to really think about it and lay it out the way it should be. Like, it's just not as rushed, which is always better.
Right. And that's the thing, but money talks. That's the thing. That's why we went from 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year with just syndicated shows to having live TV to having monthly pay-per-views, because the people wanted it, because wrestling got hot and the people wanted it, and they're making money. They just sold that contract to Fox for $1 billion. They're making money. They're not going to stop making money. They don't care that you and I are shooting a podcast in your living room in Canton, Ohio, talking about why we're a little bit sour on the product, because the majority's tuning in. But
yeah,
that was just kind of my thought process going in, especially with football happening right now. Why am I excited for football? Why am I more excited to watch a football game than I would be a wrestling show, even though I'm more of a wrestling fan than a football fan? Well, because I haven't had it. Yeah. I haven't had it in my life.
You've had that anticipation.
I had that anticipation, and I'm excited for it.
And that would certainly add a lot more of that element to it.
It would. I watch Raw and SmackDown most weeks, but I'll tune out for some stuff. There's just some stuff that doesn't feel like it's must watch.
There's just like, I can slowly play my game on my phone while this.
Oh, sure, yeah. There's other things to do. Even with the All In show. I mean, I knew that's a loaded show on paper, but I feel like there's still so much wrestling. I can watch it anytime. I can put on the New Japan Pro Wrestling app. We're spoiled in the sense I can watch great wrestling anytime. It's not, even though this show is really cool and it's original and there's some great talent on there, it didn't feel like it was a must-see for me. I had to work. I was cool with that. I had to work, and I'll figure I'll try to catch it some other time. I was fine with that, knowing full well that I'd catch the results later.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, because it was such an original idea and it was such a cool thing that they did, but just because of wrestling as a whole, I felt like I was okay if I didn't catch it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did to a certain extent, too. I didn't watch it until like 2 days later.
Yeah. There you go. There you go, man.
But, yeah.
So we covered a lot of stuff today, man, on a show that we kind of just decided to wing it.
It actually went pretty fucking well.
We came up with a possible off-season idea, a staggered roster idea that sounds pretty good. The more we talked about it, we kind of threw that out there.
Yeah, dude, we should wing it more often.
We should wing it more often. That came out okay. Man, I guess that this is good a place as any to wrap up. We talked about the current product. We caught up with all of our fans out there, and hopefully they listen, subscribe, download, share, all that stuff, right?
All those things.
That's all good things.
T-shirts. You want T-shirts, mattarcher.threadless.com. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/mattarchermedia. I feel like I don't even need to say that anymore. Everybody understands Facebook. Matt Archer Media on Facebook.
I don't understand anything about these sites, but I understand Facebook. It's the only one I do. So if I can figure it out.
It rules the world, dude. People get most of their news from that shit too. We are also on Instagram.
We are.
Yeah, Matt Archer Media on Instagram. See, I like Instagram. I like I like pictures. And
you
shit.
like pictures?
I'll even post clips on there from time to time.
I don't get it. I think I'm more of I have a face for radio. So I down iTunes, iTunes and Stitcher and stuff like that. Download us there. If you want to watch us on YouTube, you can do that. I don't like looking at myself that long. I don't have that much of an egomaniac. I listen on iTunes. That's what I do. But tell your friends, please. Give us a listen. Again, caught iTunes, a lot of traction. Yeah.
Stitcher, Castbox, me and Jeff figured out.
I don't know what that is either.
I didn't either.
But if it works, talk to Jeff Hughes, big MMA star. He'll tell you how to listen to a couple of bozos talking wrestling. That
for sure. Yeah. Check out all the other ones. Jam Up, Jeff and Mark's Title Podcast. Bunch of Podheads is going to come back soon. And, like, share, subscribe. Let the world know you love Ohio Wrestlecast. And until next time.
Thanks for everything. Bye, Internet.